it's me, the lyricist, they fearing this as you can see. Yo, it's me, the lyricist, they fearing.
Alright, so it's your boy SKANDOUZ, the hip hop original, and we're here for Head to Head, Season 3, episode number 9. And I'm joined by an incredible legend from the Atlanta music scene. He's a hip hop producer. He's phenomenal, a DJ, and an absolute legend. Soul Messiah, welcome to the Connoisseurs of Hip Hop, sir. Definitely a pleasure to speak to you today.
Indeed. Thank you for having me, Scan. It's dope to be here. I appreciate you.
Nice. So we're going to jump into this interview, and the first question we always kick off with, Soul Messiah, how did you find your way into music? Where did it start for you?
It started with b-boying. I was a breaker, and I might have been 11 or 12 years old. And so with breaking comes the music. So I was a b-boy, I was breaking, and then I got into DJing. So like around 12 or 13, I started DJing, and that's what really got me in. And in fact, specifically, it was the Roc Steady crew out of the Bronx. They were the ones that I saw. And I was like, yo, I want to do that. So I would start breaking. Then I saw the DJing, and I was like, I want to do that. It was Jazzy J, actually, who I saw. And who's also Zulu Nation. And I ended up getting into DJing. And that was the initial journey into hip hop, the music.
Right. Okay. So he was a DJ. Nice. And did you grow up in Atlanta, or did you grow up in New York? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yep, right here.
Right. All right. But you was influenced by what was happening in New York at the time.
Yeah, I had cousins that lived in the Bronx, and then if you remember, I don't know how old you are, but I saw a movie called Wild Style, and another movie called Flashdance, where they had breakers in the movie, and all that blew me away, and that pulled me in. And this is around 1982, so
right,
yeah, and that really got me.
Okay, nice. So the name Soul Messiah, what is the origin of that name, and was it the first name you came up with?
Well, no, so Soul Messiah is not a hip hop name. It's my, what we call righteous name, my given name by my elders. First name Soul, last name Messiah. I have a middle name, but Soul Messiah. It's so when you down here where I'm from, the community I grew up in, we had rites of passage, and when you went through your rites of passage, you were given a righteous name. And so my name is when I graduated from high school. When I was 17, I was given the name Soul Messiah. My first name was Kid Crush for hip hop. So my first name was Kid Crush because I was a b-boy and a DJ, and so I felt like I was crushing all the other DJs and b-boys, so that's why I was Crush. But when I got my righteous name, I just used my name as, for everything, for hip hop and everything.
Okay, wow, amazing. So your production journey, man, where did that begin?
That began officially, I did it growing up, but officially about 1988. When I graduated from high school, I started working, 88, 89. I started working with this guy named Dallas Austin. And well, we were friends, but his brother was like, yo, he doing beats and he gonna blow up, and you come up here and work with us in this production company we got, and then you'll be able to do your thing. So I started there with Dallas, and so we did a lot of big records. I come from the hip hop community, but professionally, I ended up doing a lot of production for TLC, Boyz II Men, Madonna, Michael Jackson. I worked on all of those songs. And that's what got my feet wet for the music business. But the production started then with Dallas. And I think it might have been ABC. I don't know if you remember that group ABC. They had that song Aisha and Playground. It's a older song, but it was a kid group back then, a hip hop group. And so I would do production with this production crew with Dallas Austin. Well, it was just me and him at first, but I used to program the drums and put the cuts in, and So that's how I got started. And kind of like in hip hop and R&B, which is kind of a jump start. You know what I mean? Most people in the house with their boys rapping, but I ended up somehow in the studio and Whitney Houston is walking by, and Terrence Trent D'Arby is walking by, all of these big artists. So, and Soul to Soul. So I got to really get my feet wet with a lot of the big boys.
Wow, and that's such an incredible journey. So
Yeah.
how did you end up going down the hip hop path and not following Dallas down R&B and pop lane?
Well, that's the thing. I always did the hip hop, and if you listen to the songs that Dallas and the production companies that we did, they're very hip hop influenced because I did the drum programming and sampling for them. So like I did TLC Creep with Dallas, right?
Oh, wow.
And if you listen to it, I sampled Public Enemy, Guess Who's Back? Actually, no, I take that back. I sampled Slick Rick, which was actually Shinehead. So long, everybody samples everybody. And it's a lot of cuts in there if you listen to it. Guess Who's Back?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because Eminem ended up using it too. But I was always with a rap group. Always had me a group that I was working with when I was doing the R&B. So soon, as you remember, it changed over from 90 to about 93, hip hop started hitting, especially in Atlanta. Outkast and a lot of other groups would come through Atlanta and record. So I ended up doing a lot of production for those guys. And that's how I started. In fact, one of my rap groups was this group named Mozae, Mozae. And they were like mid-90s. And they were like Outkast, but they say everybody's like Outkast down here. They were a 2-man group. And so I got to working on them a lot. And a couple of more groups, but mainly doing the hip hop side of R&B that he brought, you know what I mean? And injecting that in all of the songs. I did a song, Vibin'. It was by Boyz II Men. If you remember, it was Busta Rhymes, Craig Mack. I don't know if you remember that remix. It was a Boyz II Men remix with all these hip hop artists on it. So I worked on that with these brothers named Tim and Bob. So I brought the cuts, hard drums and stuff like that to it. So I would always inject some good hip hop into R&B.
Oh,
so that was about early and mid 90s.
Wow. And so you and Dallas parted ways around 97, right?
Yeah, about 97. Yeah, we
Okay.
we were cool, but I was, his checks were like this big and my checks was like this big. So I was like, you know what, I gotta do my own thing. You know what I mean? And so I ended up just doing going straight hip hop and dealing with hip hop.
So with Atlanta being considered the the home of hip hop right now, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it is. I mean, I guess technically it is. You know what I mean? As far as you think about artists that are the big pop artists or people who come through Atlanta to record, like the Drakes and the everybody comes through here to record. I mean, it is. Now, as far as what the hip hop that the brand of hip hop that I do, not necessarily. It's mostly trap music, and I don't even know if I call it trap because that's me being older, but I don't know what they call it now. But the new hip hop does come out of here. Like, this is where it is. You know what I mean? And I was a part of the beginning of that, to be honest with you. So some of it's my fault. I always laugh, I always tell Sa-Roc, maybe it's a little bit of my fault for some of this stuff that I don't like. But that's another story.
Right.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
So with your production style, man, how would you describe, what would you say influenced it? Because it's quite soulful, like it's very traditional with the...
Okay. Like with me, like I said, I grew up in Atlanta, and the difference between Atlanta and most places is we had marching bands. Big thing down here is bands. So when we were younger, our parents made us, everybody had to learn an instrument. You're gonna play drums, you're gonna play guitar, you're gonna play trumpet, you're gonna play clarinet, you're gonna play tuba, you're gonna play something growing up here, at least in my generation. Mind you, I'm a little older than most rappers. I just don't look it. But we had to play instruments. So that ended up giving us a basis for key and tone and more soulful movements. So And on the other side, we had the influence of New York hip hop really strong down here early. It branched off, but early it was just hip hop was hip hop. It wasn't East Coast, West Coast, North and South. It was just hip hop. You just happened to be from where you were from. So with me, I kept that boom bap, some KRS-One type, Boogie Down Productions, Guru and Primo drums, but put the soulful stuff on top of it. You know what I mean? And I'm always trying to make sure that I have somebody somebody that's very lyrical and is saying something. I believe that if you rap, you got to say something. Everybody ain't got to be conscious, but at least say something, because it's a lot going on. And if you don't say nothing, it's ridiculous. It's just rap for rap's sake. And I like rap for rap's sake, but if I'm going to put an artist out, like the artists I work with, I got blessed to be able to work with artists that said something. So I did, I produced Dead Prez, David Banner, Talib Kweli, a lot of them. Nappy Roots, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's very true. And also, even with the label that you're associated with, Rhymesayers is definitely known for the socially conscious MCs, So how did your partnership with the label begin? How did you come to working with artists like Sa-Roc?
Well, first it was Sa-Roc. So Sa-Roc, I was producing around 2008. I was working on Nappy Roots album. I did a lot of their production, and I was in the studio, and Sa-Roc was a friend of mine. She was just a friend who would be around. She didn't rap, she didn't do poetry, she didn't do none of that. She was just a friend that was cool. And I was in the studio one day with Nappy Roots, and she visited. A lot of people would come visit. People would come in the studio and while I'm working. And she made a joke one day, and she said, "I can write a rap." And I was like, okay, because everybody say they can write a rap. I said, okay. And then I just kind of ignored her and kept working. And then she said, "No, I'm serious. I can write a rap. I think I can do it." I was like, okay. Back then we had beat CDs. I said, "I'm gonna give you this beat CD. You go write a rap and then bring it back when you think you got it ready." She said, "All right." I thought nothing of it. About a week later, she came back. "You wrote that?" She was like, "Yes." And she's a quiet person. So it was kind of weird because she's quiet and she was spitting. And I was like, let's record it. She's like, "Record?" I let her record it. And the crazy part about it is that song, the first song she ever recorded, is on the internet now for sale, which is crazy, on iTunes and Tidal. But after that, I just had her record until she got used to it. And I don't believe in waste. So every song she recorded ended up with 13 albums. Let me put it to you like that. On the road, traveling the world, and perform with the Roots and all of these big artists. But that's how I got that started. And then one day, I got a phone call from this dude at Rhymesayers and said, "Do you want to perform at this festival called Soundset?" We were performing already. This is around 2015. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we went out to Minneapolis and we performed at Soundset, and I met the owner of the label, real cool cat named Sadiq. And he was like, "Yo, man, y'all are dope. I really like her, man. We should talk." So after that, we started talking, and we ended up doing a production deal, label deal with them, a partnership, where it's Soul Messiah Rhymesayers, and I brought her in as the artist. You know what I mean? And the rest is history.
Wow, that's incredible, man. And the album that she put out is like fantastic as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, just obviously the features on there, because one thing that sticks out about this album that you've got coming is the incredible features that are on the project. So I mean, obviously this is the meat of the interview we want to get into, this amazing new album that you've got coming. So I mean, for the people that might not be too familiar with it, give us an idea behind the concept and the title of the album.
So the title of the album is God Complex. I spell complex CMPLX, but complex, as you know, is a building, or it can be a mindset, a complex. But it's not a complex mindset. It's actually speaking about one body. So it's called God Complex. My point for calling it God Complex is to emphasize that though we look outside of ourselves, so spirituality, confidence, power, and all of that, it's actually inside of us. You know, we look outside for things, but what we call God, Allah, or whoever we want to call he, she, they, is inside self. So I called it the God complex. And in that complex of different rooms, different attitudes, different cultures, different ideas, and that's the songs. All them people look at it like it's a building, and in each window you see the different MCs of the different concepts, and that's what God Complex is.
Right. And as a project, how long did it take you to compile, to put it together?
It didn't take but about maybe 6 months. Only reason it took a full 6 months is because people all around the world, you know what I mean? People were different places, so you have to get the beat out there and then get it back to you and fix things and change things. But the funny part is, it actually took me 30 years. The reason being is because I was going to do this in 93.
Oh, wow.
And I started recording, stopped. 95, started recording, stopped. 97. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Wow.
28 years, 29 years, saying I'm gonna record it, but I finally found a place where I felt like I could go on and get it done. And I have a lot done. The album that I'm releasing that you'll see is just, like I said, I'm gonna do this from now on. So that's the first part. And I go up in I go up in popularity because you don't want to throw your big guns out in the beginning. I have a lot of good relationships with a lot of MCs and singers. You know, that's the reason Sa-Roc's album got so many features. Well, half of the features. A lot of those features were people just fans of hers and asked could they feature on her album. But a lot of them I was already cool with, like Black Thought. He's a big fan of hers, and we've been friends for years. And so we're gonna keep building. But those MCs, I dig it. You know what I mean? But I got a lot more to give, so I can't wait to drop this.
Wow, that's amazing. And obviously we might as well kick off with the singles that came out. So the first single, God Complex, with King Crooked and Sa-Roc, right? Was that the first single?
No, the first single was Soul Supreme with Cambada.
Yes.
Now, that's the video that came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Cambada is an insane MC. So, and I'm looking at how did you manage to get that track together? Did you have a relationship already, or is it just?
Yeah, me and him are actually recording the album.
Okay.
And I was like, I need a song for my album, and that's one of the songs that came out of that collaboration. But me and him got a project that we're working on now, almost finished, a little bit more work. And me and him, we hooked up because we know mutual people. I think it was Red Pill and Blue Pill that hooked me up with him. Okay. That's some brothers out of New York, but these two twins. You ever heard of them? Red Pill, Blue Pill?
No, I'm not too familiar with
Red
them.
Pill and Blue Pill they dope. They rhyme, they deal with consciousness, and they do a lot of things, but they're connecting to a lot of people. And I hooked up with Cambada through them. And we just started recording, and that song came out. Cambada's crazy. Like, MCing his concepts are just off the chain, and he does it so effortlessly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I know you represent the female MCs so strongly on this album, man. It's a fantastic record with Lyric Jones and Che Noir and Sa-Roc on it as well. Was it important for you to have a female posse cut on the album? Yes, man, because growing up, it was always MCs that were female and MCs that were male. And my thing is, I've always been a champion for women in hip hop, because over the years, we men lost our way with sharing the spotlight. You know what I mean? I talk to men, they be like, she a woman. And I'll be like, but damn, she rhyme better than you do, dude. But that's that machismo, macho shit that we have sometimes that messes us up. So what my goal was, that's why I've been working with Sa-Roc and so many other women for so long, is to show that they rhyme just as good, if not better, than most men. And the reason I say that is, remember this, when you was in school, was the smartest person in the class usually a guy or a girl?
Usually a girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So more than likely, she's probably gonna be able to grasp these concepts of MCing, which Sa-Roc did, and so I pushed that hard. So that Lyric Jones, Shay, and Sa-Roc is crazy, and it's an ode to another MC. I'm not even saying because people don't know that it's coming. It's an ode to another dope MC that happens to be female. So I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And for me, there's other standouts. I mean, I was really happy to see Stickman on the album, you know, because it's very rare that he puts stuff out as well. So it's just the collection of artists on this project, man, is incredible, you know. And it almost comes across like it feels like there's a word that what's his name? West Side Gun uses when he describes how he puts an album together, and he kind of calls himself a curator, like how you put an art exhibition together. And to me, I get this sort of vibe when I look at this album and I look at the track list. It was like it's been curated, because not everybody can put an album together with so many different artists and it actually work, you know. And the way you put it together, it's like it's seamless, you know. The cuts, the breaks, the samples, man. And like you said, it was a 30-year journey, man. And to me, I can feel the passion in this project, you know. And definitely looking forward to hearing the more singles that drop. What singles next off the album?
In fact, tonight and going into tomorrow, Roc Steady with Sa-Roc, just Sa-Roc rhyming, is next. And we dropped the midnight tonight, US side. We drop the music, and then tomorrow in the morning we drop the video. So it's called Roc Steady with Sa-Roc. Okay,
right. And Sa-Roc is heavily featured on this album.
Yeah, you know, I gotta put the queen on all over there because she got another album gonna be coming out soon or announced. So we're making sure we keeping her because, you know, in these days and times, man, it's social media, it's all this stuff, and you have to stay current and stay live. So that's what I make sure I do, is keep her name out there. Plus, she's getting ready to go on a tour. So it's going to be a good look. You know what I'm saying? We're about to tour America, and then we coming over to Europe, either end of the year, top of the year, but it hadn't been announced yet.
Okay. Wow, man. So obviously getting your start in the late 90s under, or early 90s under Dallas Austin, up until 2022, you know, a lot has changed in the music landscape. So how would you say your artistry has evolved during that time?
Well, most of the brothers and sisters my age either stopped or they do this stuff they call old school hip hop. Me, I tried to, so let me give you an example. I tried to stay current. When I say current, I don't mean mimicking what the kids do, but I mean injecting some of those sounds. Like, for instance, I use some 808 drums. I use the moving hi-hats. I'll deal with MCs that, you know, like Southern MCs that has that drawl, but they still got bounce, but they yet can rhyme. But I always worked. I worked from the beginning. I'll give you an example. First album, Young Jeezy. I did Young Jeezy's first album. I produced a lot of the songs on there. I put the package together. I even helped him put it out, like get the artwork done and put it out independently. I hooked him up with his first manager. His name is Coach K. He does that thing called, you know, Amigos and Lil Baby. Was it QC? Quality Control.
Yeah.
So it's a good friend of mine. And I hooked him up with Jeezy because he said he wanted to be a manager. So, but we recorded that first album. And it was me, Lil Jon, the Attic Crew, Shawty Red, and a couple other producers produced those records for him. And I did the first two albums. I was on the first two albums, actually. So that was the beginning of trap rap right there, him and T.I. You know what I mean? So at that time, what was that? Late 90s, early 2000s, that was the beginning of this new sound that you hear. And like the big argument with him and T.I. is who started trap music. Really, the producers did, because we talking about the music. So that was me, Shawty Red, and Lil Jon, and a couple other people. Now I went to me and Lil Jon were friends in high school, so it's always been a relationship with a lot of the producers down here. DJ Toomp, all of those cats that produce a lot of the records you hear. everything comes from somewhere. 6 degrees of separation is serious, and all of us know each other. But that was one of the first ones I did that ended up going big commercial outside of R&B.
Right.
And so I just stayed current, you know what I mean? Doing things that I felt, excuse me, would catch the ear yet still have my, what I call a soulful vibe. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say is, I mean, obviously it's probably a bit early for you, but it's also worth mentioning. But what would you say is the Soul Messiah legacy? You mentioned obviously being one of the first pioneers of trap music. But what else would you say?
The legacy for me, I deal with hip hop as a whole, as a culture. So I deal with b-boying, MCing, DJing, and graffiti. So the 4 facets: breakdancing, which is the b-boying, graffiti, MCing, and DJing. So I'm a DJ. I grew up a graffiti artist and DJ, and a b-boy. So my legacy would be pioneering, I think, a lot of the culture, period, in Atlanta and throughout the world, because I was the head of Zulu Nation from 1988 up till about 97 in Atlanta. I brought it out of New York and brought it to Atlanta, with the South, period. And I had my own chapter of Roc Steady crew. So it would be a thing of hip hop, not just music, because same time I was doing production, I was still breakdancing and traveling the world with Roc Steady crew up till about 96, 95 when my first child was born. So it wouldn't be just music. It would be, in my mind, hopefully, hip hop, and helping to keep the whole culture moving with all of its intricate parts. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that would be it. I mean, music is a part of it. Like, that's what I'm doing right now, because I'm a little older, so I can sit down and make beats. I don't need to be spinning on my head. I could, but I ain't in shape like that. I leave that to my partner, Crazy Legs. He's still doing it.
Yeah,
but
man.
I'm still heavily involved though with them though.
Oh wow, that's incredible,
Yeah.
man. So they don't tempt you out of like to do a windmill every now and again, or
sometimes, but mainly they get me to do music for the things that they do. That's what I'm working on now with Crazy Legs, doing some music for a surprise documentary getting ready to drop. But yeah, man, I just made sure I keep my foot in somehow in hip hop. My whole life has been that. I've never done anything else from 12 years old, and I'm 52.
Wow. Man, I would have never guessed. That's incredible, man. So definitely our listeners and viewers are really looking forward to this album. So would we consider this album, I know you've got a history of putting out instrumental albums and compilations and mixtapes. Are we calling this the official debut album, or?
Yeah, it's a debut. Those other things that I did, those instrumental albums, they're just instrumental albums, because I was putting out music through the bigger labels, like I said, like with David Banner, and they won the labels. But I put out instrumental albums because I have so much music in the catalog, you know what I mean? But this will be the debut. This will be the first time people see me, you know what I mean? Because, we usually play the background, DJs and producers. But much like in the tradition of DJ Premier, Madlib, Kanye West, and all of the guys that we know about, it's that same thing. You know what I mean? Or like DJ Khaled, which is funny to compare it, but it's true though. He's a producer who jumped out front. I'm not gonna be dancing the videos. I am dancing the videos, but I'm not dancing. But it's not gonna be like that. But it's a more prominent role as a DJ producer, and as ode to y'all, connoisseur of hip hop.
Oh, brilliant. Amazing, man.
Indeed.
And also some of those producers you mentioned sometimes, occasionally jump on the mic. Is that something you ever been interested into doing?
I've never ever tried to, I ain't even tried to rap. I've never, in all these years, never wrote a rap.
Oh wow.
I speak with my hands as Howie T, who used to be with Sa-Roc, used to say, speak with my hands. You know what I mean? Doing the beats and the cuts.
Well, I mean, if needed, you've got the ultimate ghostwriter in the camp. So
I really do. She's crazy with it.
That's incredible.
She's it. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. So we're definitely looking forward to this album. We're looking forward to the you say you're gonna hopefully come to Europe and the UK in the new year to tour.
Yeah, I'll be there. If not the end of the year, if not December, in January or February, I know.
That's
touring
amazing.
with Sa-Roc. We'll be out there. We love it out there. So ready to get back.
That's amazing, man. And you're saying this album is like part of a trilogy of albums, or is it
Part of it's from now on. So every year it'll be an album till I can't no more, which that's only when you leave. So I'm just starting. Literally. And it'll be albums from now on. You know, we're supposed to leave something, man. We love people like Quincy Jones and all of these legends, and because they kept producing and kept creating. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're not put here to sit still, put here to put out and empty your glass.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
That's incredible, man. We look forward to hearing God Complex in its entirety when it lands next month. Once again, I want to thank you for taking time out to kick it with the Connoisseurs of Hip Hop, man. We're going to continue to support the singles, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year in person.
Indeed, you will. I'll be out there. We're gonna holler at you. We hook up and get some vegan grub.
Yeah, of course, man. Definitely, 100%, man. Much love, man. Indeed. And all the best with the release. So until next time, sir, much respect.
Indeed. Peace.
Peace.
All right. Peace.
Yo, it's me, the lyricist, they fearing this as you can see.